people that consider themselves live and let live conservatives are kind of at a disadvantage with such an aggressive social and political revolution going on, because they assume that everyone has like a live and let live worldview. That's not going to bode well for us. We need to actually be able to articulate our ideas and understand them and really believe fully in what these things. We can't rely on politicians to guide us through policy and think that they are going to guide us anywhere. We need to know that we are individuals with rights, and we should not have rulers over us.
Hello and welcome to Teaching Liberty. My name is Stephanie Edmonds, and in this episode, I have a conversation with Elijah Stanfield, illustrator of the children's book series, The Tuttle Twins. If you're a liberty-loving parent like me, you've likely heard of this series. The adventures of twins who explore the founding principles of this nation and those of free market economics. And with more people looking for this content, Elijah and his partner, author Connor Boyack, have been able to expand into books for teens, books for toddlers, and even textbooks. In our conversation, Elijah tells us about their new textbook series about to hit shelves, their creative process, what it's like being a classical liberal in the art world, parental rights, and so much more. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Be sure to check in on Saturday and Tuesday nights when I go live to discuss the news and trending topics of the week. And let's keep the conversation going over on social media. Make sure you're following me on Instagram and Twitter. And you can support my work directly by joining the community over at TeachingLiberty.org. All of the links to those are in the description down below. Now, let's get into it. Elijah, thank you so much for joining me here today. How you doing?
Doing good, Stephanie. Thanks.
Yeah, and you were just telling me actually that Tuttle Twins is coming out with a new volume to their history series. So I figured before I ask you a little bit more about how you got into this and about the series generally, you can tell us about that. I'm a history person, so I definitely want to know.
Cool. Well, thanks for letting me talk about that. We just finished up like a week ago, sent it to the printer. This is our second volume of our textbooks. They're like 250, 300 pages long. The first volume covered from the Magna Carta to the Declaration of Independence, and this one goes from the Declaration of Independence to the ratification of the Bill of Rights. Okay. So, I really had a blast working on them, learning so much, and so I think people are going to really enjoy this one.
And you're an illustrator, so what is your role in the whole process?
Well, I think that more than just drawing, my skill has always been taking more complex ideas, boring ideas, and turning them into something interesting. I did that for 15 years as a corporate animator, taking really dry training, things like that, and trying to make it, digestible, not fall asleep. Jumping over to the Tuttle Twins with Connor, I kind of play the same role. He'll, write something out, and I'll say, hey, actually, I want to just, describe it like this in pictures. So he'll kind of like tweak it. And so it's actually, we work really well together, massaging through
it's a very fluid process, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think it's different than what most Illustrator authors do. We both share the same worldview. And so we really work well together. It's really been a blast.
And so how did you guys meet each other and then come up with this idea for the series of the Tuttle Twins?
I'm not exactly sure when we first met online. I think it had to do, he had a blog and I was just following it. I think maybe we were part of like a forum before social media and I had run across his name. But then he went to Freedom Fest one year, the same year that I went, and we decided to room together, share some costs there. And then we just started talking, got a friendship, and I really saw the potential in him. He's just a brilliant speaker, very articulate, and can share ideas very clearly. So I was just like, I really need to partner with this guy somehow. So I reached out to him and said, hey, if you ever think about maybe doing a children's book or something, I can draw. And he was like, well, actually, I think I've been actually chewing on that idea And so he started doing some research to make sure that it actually could work. The business end of things, seeing if there's a market, seeing what the costs were, and seeing if, what our competition would be. And he found that there was just nothing. And so he got back to me maybe 3 or 4 months later after me pitching that idea to him, said he was going to start writing, came back with The Law, which is based off of Frederick Bastiat's The Law, which we both highly influential for us. And
So you guys both have a similar worldview, freedom, liberty. I guess, when did that become, because you said you were in the corporate world, so I imagine it was kind of apolitical. I mean, now things have changed, I suppose, a little bit, but for the most part, apolitical. So for you, when did you get into politics or develop this sort of worldview?
My dad's always been kind of like what would be the pessimistic politically. Kind of what are these guys up to? These guys, So I kind of always had that attitude about government. But then when Ron Paul ran for president in 2007, his campaign then, he started saying some things that really made me start to think about the role of government. Is the size of the government that we have necessary? Some of the things that I took for granted, like the IRS, the war in the Middle East, just started questioning if these people really had the intentions to help us be free, or if they had other motives. And I was kind of naive back then, so I started doing some research, reading the Constitution, and then I started reading about some philosophers. Frederick Bastiat was one of the first. Knock. Roth. Then I started getting into Rothbard, which just kind of opened my eyes to what really is necessary, and is there a better way?
And so you're an artist, and so did you go to school to be like a fine artist, or?
I went to the Delaware College of Art and Design for 2 years, and then I went to the Rhode Island School of Design for my final 2 years. I did video and animation, and but I honestly would say that very little of that had to do with where I am today, with my art.
Okay. Well, because I was just wondering how the art world has changed, because I do feel like, and I mean, I'm not super heavy in the art world. Like, I've been a little, music scene a little bit, have some friends. My sister actually went to the School of Visual Arts at University of Delaware as well. So I feel like the artist movement used to be very anti-war, very anti-establishment. Perhaps I'm wrong. I would just love to know how your political views have meshed with the art world and how that has or has not changed as an artist.
Yeah, I think most people would say that artists are generally anti-authoritarian, stick it to the man, against the machine, cutting edge of, breaking through society norms and things like that. And I think that they aren't that way out of principle. I think that they're just emotional beings. They have a very high sensitivity towards having empathy for other people, envisioning what the future could be like, trying to put things together. I think that's just the way their minds work. But the emotional aspect, I believe, makes them generally easier to manipulate, because they don't generally make a lot of their thought processes based off of reason and research and principles. So now that they're, I would say today, in the last maybe 10, 20 years, it's become now they are maybe the authoritarians, right? Because they think that their worldview now has a chance. And so they're taking these means that authoritarian means that previously were the things that they were fighting against, and taking them to justify their end goals. And So it's a shame, but I think that an artist, an emotional type person, one that's creative and has skills, if they can latch onto some sort of principles, that they can be very powerful movers and shakers and make real change.
I agree. I think I do video and more documentary style things, but in terms of fine arts or visual arts where it requires you to draw or paint or build things, I feel like a very awesome genius. And I could never express myself in that way. So I think that there is a real power and there's a real something that can't be expressed in words. And I agree with how that might be manipulated when it's not necessarily attached to something that has, I don't want to say like an intellectual basis, because I feel like sometimes that feels like a little bit like, like snobby or elitist. And I'm trying to stray away from that and really humble myself to the skills and way that people express themselves. I always had friends who they weren't so great at school sometimes, but oh man, were they great artists or great singers or these things that I could never do. And I think that there is a real value to that I hate to act like is lesser than my ability to maybe articulate myself or some principles I espouse myself to. I don't know if you ever struggle with that.
Yeah, I mean, I was a horrible student in public school. I think they just passed me just because they wanted to get rid of me, And I was always told for 13 years, like, that my art would never get me anywhere. I need to, get my act together, things like that. And for some miracle, I just ignored them and just kept doing my thing. And I think that's maybe the biggest deficiency of the public school system, is that it is meant to conform the way it's set up. Even grading, testing, the different subjects you have to study, the different, the time periods and everything. All of that is structured to minimize the individual interests, and maybe even intentionally for some people, I don't think that the public school system can be fixed. It has to be let this person just be free to be what they want to be. But since then, now I love history. Now I love writing. I think I'm actually becoming a very good writer. And all of these things just come to me voluntarily when I find interest, and when I want to do them, then I can. So I don't know if an artist's mind is any less capable of being intellectual or mathematical or anything. I think mostly they don't want to be controlled. They want to do things in their own time and in their own way, and focus on the things that they want to focus on. And, a lot of people will try to, label that as an ADD type of situation. But I think that ADD is actually not a deficit of attention. I think it's a hyper attention to the things that they want to focus on. I just don't want to listen to your bullcrap. I'm thinking about my ninjas right now, drawing these things, and I just don't care about your math right now. But, so I think that the artist's mind it thinks about things in different ways. And I think they can be very powerful. But like I said before, I think that emotional aspect of artists generally can allow them to be manipulated to, take by authoritarians.
So we have the Tuttle Twins series. We have Tuttle Twins textbooks, or is that under a different title?
There's the main series, which there's 13 books. Those are all based off of previous popular works, The Law, and our latest one is by Jordan, based off of the ideas of Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Okay.
We have teen books. We have two series. We have a Choose Your Own Adventure type series. We have a guidebook series, and we even have toddler books. We have 6 toddler books, 3 ABCs and 3 1 2 3 ABCs and 1 2 3s, and then this history book series. Hopefully we're hoping maybe 4 to 6 volumes of those. We're just finished number 2, like I said. So yeah, we have a lot of products. We actually have a monthly magazine now, podcast, all sorts of things. So
all right.
The demand is high, and we're trying our best to, fill the need.
I love it. And so you guys have a website. Do you distribute them through third-party sellers, some combination of both?
TuttleTwins.com. We have our own warehouse. That was just an idea that we had early on that kind of built. We originally, when we wrote the law, when Connor wrote the law and we published it, we knew that our audience was a very limited. We just thought there would be just maybe a couple hundred, a few thousand people that would even want this. So we said, let's just ship it out of your house, Connor. So Connor and his kids would pack up the boxes and ship them out. And once those were gone, we were like, should we go to Amazon now? And I was like, this is bad for Connor, but I was like, can you just keep doing this for a while? Because we're making so much more money by you shipping them instead of using Amazon. They take a big cut.
Yeah.
And eventually, that was just not fair to him. And so we were just like, let's get some college kids to do it. And it's really worked out. And so now we have a gigantic warehouse. We ship, thousands of books every single day. I think we have maybe 30 youth-aged young adults in the warehouse packing boxes for us. It's really great, and we've been able to completely bypass the entire middleman.
Wow, I love it.
It's been good. It's been good money-wise, but early on we decided that this was going to be our mission project, and neither of us drive Lamborghinis. We sold over 5 million books, so we should be, rolling in the dough. But we decided early on, we've kept to it, that this is our mission. So we're going to keep putting it back into the books, making more products, and spreading it as far and wide as we can.
Awesome. Are there any plans to go into the digital media space or the animation? I know you said that you had some experience in animation. Like, is there going to be a Tuttle Twins TV series or anything along those lines that we can expect?
Yeah, we're actually in the 2nd season of the Tuttle Twins. If you go on YouTube, you go Tuttle Twins TV. Are you familiar with Angel Studios?
I'm not. I'm sorry. I didn't realize there was a series. I feel bad now.
Their first big project was The Chosen, that series about Jesus, and it was, it's a huge hit. And then I believe it was their 2nd series. They said, let's do Tuttle Twins. Awesome. And so they are working on their 2nd season of the Tuttle Twins. Yeah, and you can find it for free on YouTube or the Angel app. Just look around, you'll find them. But I'm not an animator on that. We turned it over to Angel Studios. We trust them. We share the same values and worldview. So the Harmon brothers are heading that up and doing a great job.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like it's a very exciting time. I'm definitely getting to that age with my son where these books are going to be around the level where he can read and we can really get into. So I'm excited to do that and just check out everything else you have. But I'm going to have to get onto this Tuttle Twin series because I don't mind my son watching a little bit of TV here and there, but we still even battle over during that 30 minutes, like what he's going to watch. I'm like, listen, none of this YouTube nonsense where there's like no plot, no character development. It's like crazy, So I'm like, you have to watch something on Netflix or Amazon because at least I know there's going to be some, maybe it's not the best, but there'll be some semblance of a plot. So it sounds like we can go the Tuttle Twins route. We can get great content. We can get, the storyline, the plot, and all that. So making our TV time even more effective. And I don't know, any other tips or anything you have for us to get connected with you, to get connected with these freedom ideas? Any thoughts before we get out of here?
We really just put everything we have into the books. If you want to know what we believe, get the books, and they're really not just for kids. They're for everybody. Connor always says it's for ages 6 through congressmen. It's these are things that um, our civilization is built off of, and we have to, understand those and articulate those arguments now that those, values and principles are kind of being questioned and debated in our society. And we have to be really careful about that. And, I think that people that consider themselves live and let live conservatives are kind of at a disadvantage with such an aggressive social and political revolution going on, because they assume that everyone has like a live and let live, you know, uh, worldview. You live your life, I'll live mine, but that's not going to bode well for us. We need to actually be able to articulate our ideas and understand them and really believe fully in what these things. We can't rely on politicians to guide us through policy and think that they are going to guide us anywhere. We need to know that we are individuals with rights, and we should not have rulers over us, that governments should be very limited, and how best to keep government limited, how best to have a prosperous and peaceful society. So that's what the mission of the Tuttle Twins is. And we just hope we can spread this to millions more people.
As do I. Thank you so much, Elijah, for reaching out to me and making this happen. And I look forward to seeing many more series.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Stephanie.
Thanks for checking out my conversation with Elijah Stanfield. Like I said, I'm very excited to get into this series with my son. And I'm just excited in general that these books are so popular, that so many people are going out and buying them because they are looking for these ideas and they are teaching them to their kids. And that gives me so much hope for the future. Let me know in the comments down below if you're reading the Tuttle Twins books, or if there's another good series out there that you think that we should know about. And if you haven't already, hopefully by now we've earned that like, so go ahead, hopefully by now I've earned that like, so go ahead, make sure you've hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. If you're on social media, Instagram, Twitter, make sure you're following me, send me a DM, say what's up, and you can support my work directly. Takes a lot to make this content over at TeachingLiberty.org. Go to the community tab and join today. And really, the most important thing is to share this video, because when we think free, we live free.
Come on.